Welcome to the Echoes of Ihsan Podcast. Today we're doing a deep dive into the wisdom of purification of the mind by Abdul Qadir Gilani.
Yeah, it should be a really fascinating journey.
Yeah, I think so too.
Exploring the teachings of this really renowned Sufi sheikh.
Oh, absolutely.
And what's so captivating about purification of the mind is that it's not your typical systematically laid out text. It's like
Bar.
stepping into a time machine, you know?
Yeah.
We're joining one of Sheikh Gilani's gatherings back in 12th century Baghdad.
Wow.
And his words compiled from these lively discourses really capture the raw energy and the heart of his teachings.
That's really cool. It's like we're getting this direct transmission of his wisdom,
Yeah.
unfiltered and brimming with passion.
Yeah, exactly.
And to really appreciate the depth of his insights.
Right.
I think we really need to understand who Abdul Qadir Gilani was.
For sure.
So he was born in 1077 CE in Persia.
Okay.
And he wasn't just any scholar.
Right.
He descended from Prophet Muhammad on both sides of his family.
On both sides?
Yeah.
Wow, that lineage tracing back to the Prophet through both parents,
Yeah.
that granted him immense respect and authority within the Islamic world.
Oh, for sure.
It's almost as if his very bloodline
Yeah.
carried the legacy of spiritual excellence.
That's powerful.
Yeah.
And there are these incredible stories from his childhood
Really?
that kind of hint at his future path.
Okay.
Imagine this as a baby he refused to nurse during daylight hours in Ramadan.
Wow, that's pretty unbelievable.
It's almost unbelievable, but it foreshadows this lifelong commitment
Yeah.
to spiritual discipline.
It speaks volumes about this innate inclination towards piety,
Right.
a heart already attuned to the rhythm of devotion,
Yep.
even before he could speak.
Wow.
And this dedication only intensified when at the tender age of 18, he embarked on a journey to Baghdad,
Which was
the intellectual and spiritual heart of the Islamic world at that time.
right, of course.
It's hard to grasp the sheer determination it must have taken to leave everything familiar
Absolutely.
and to dive headfirst into a world of scholarship
Yeah.
and spiritual exploration.
Especially back then, a journey like that would have been
Right.
arduous and fraught with uncertainties.
Yeah, for sure.
And it wasn't just a brief stint.
Right.
He immersed himself in this intense spiritual training for years. And there are accounts of him venturing into the desolate deserts of Iraq,
Really?
seeking solitude and spiritual refinement.
It is said that he spent nearly 25 years
Wow.
wandering those harsh landscapes, living an austere life stripped of worldly comforts.
Right.
This period of intense solitude and self-discipline.
Yeah.
It was like a crucible that forged his spirit. And it was during this time
Okay.
that he had this really life-altering experience.
Okay, what happened?
In 1117 CE, he had this profound encounter where he met incredibly the religion personified.
Hold on, he met the religion.
Yes.
That sounds almost mythical.
It does, right? It's described as this frail, sickly figure who greeted him, and as Gilani helped him up, the figure grew in stature and revealed himself.
Wow.
And explained that he represented the Islamic faith,
Okay.
which was at that time weakened and in
Known as Mihi-ad-Din,
Exactly.
which means the reviver of religion.
Exactly. It was a pivotal moment that illuminated his destined role.
Wow.
It's like a scene straight out of a spiritual epic,
Yeah.
marking him as this chosen one to breathe new life into the faith.
Wow.
And this brings us back to purification of the mind.
Okay.
The book, with its vast tapestry of teachings and guidance,
Yeah.
can be seen as one of the ways that he sought to fulfill that grand purpose.
That's really powerful.
Yeah.
So how is purification of the mind actually structured?
Right. So the second edition that we're delving into has 40 thematic sections.
40 sections.
Yes. But I get the sense that these categories are more like flowing rivers than rigid compartments.
I think you're right, because the editors themselves acknowledge that many passages
Yeah.
could easily fit under several headings.
Absolutely. It's a testament to the inherent interconnectedness of these spiritual concepts. For instance, a passage on repentance might seamlessly blend into discussions on sincerity
Right.
or battling the lower self,
Right.
highlighting the holistic nature of spiritual growth.
So it sounds like purification of the mind is less of a step-by-step manual
Yeah,
and more like a vibrant mosaic of wisdom,
precisely.
offering something for seekers at every stage of their spiritual journey.
Exactly. It embraces the idea that there are countless paths to Allah,
Right.
each unique and valid in its own way.
Yeah.
And Gilani's teachings reflecting his own vast experience echo this beautiful diversity.
Okay, so with that understanding, let's dive into some of the key themes that emerged for us.
Okay, sounds good.
Repentance is a concept that seems to reappear throughout the book.
Yeah.
Almost like a recurring motif.
It's everywhere.
And it's presented as this foundational bedrock for spiritual progress.
Absolutely. Gilani doesn't mince words when it comes to repentance.
Okay.
He emphasizes that true repentance delves far deeper than mere words.
Right.
Or fleeting feelings of guilt. It's not just about saying, I'm sorry to Allah.
So it's more about action than just emotion, right?
Exactly.
Genuine shift in our orientation towards the world and our priorities.
Yeah, imagine it as a spring cleaning of your inner house.
I like that.
We need to clear out the dusty corners of our hearts.
Yeah.
Sweep away the cobwebs of worldly attachments.
Wow.
And create space for Allah to reside.
That's beautiful.
Gilani uses this vivid analogy of a shopkeeper who, even while attending spiritual gatherings, is utterly consumed by worries about his failing business.
Wow.
He can't even focus on the teachings because his mind is completely occupied with these worldly concerns.
That's such a relatable image because I think we've all been there.
We have.
Right.
We've all been there.
Trying to connect with something deeper, but getting pulled back in by the anxieties of daily life.
It's a universal struggle, and Gilani wants us to recognize that these worldly anxieties, while seemingly important, are ultimately fleeting and superficial.
Okay.
True wealth, he reminds us, doesn't lie in material possessions or worldly success, but in qualities like faith, righteous deeds, and unwavering truthfulness.
Powerful.
Yeah, he's urging us to reconsider what we truly value, to shift our focus from the ephemeral to the eternal.
I love that. And there's this striking anecdote in the book where Gilani was severely beaten for taking a single stalk of corn.
It seems like a very harsh reaction.
It does.
But it highlights his unwavering commitment to following Islamic law.
Yeah.
Even in matters that might seem trivial to others.
So he wasn't interested in loopholes or justifications.
No, he wasn't.
He was really committed to the spirit of the law.
Yes. And this story also speaks to the broader theme of renunciation, which is a central concept in Sufism. Okay.
True renunciation involves detachment not only from worldly possessions and desires, but also from any attachment to spiritual rewards or states.
So it's not about seeking paradise or mystical experiences for their own sake.
No, it's not.
But it's about purifying our intentions so that our only desire is to be close to Allah.
Exactly. It's a profound level of surrender.
Wow.
Where the ego's desires, both worldly and spiritual, are relinquished in favor of complete submission to the divine will.
Okay. And that brings us to the concept of battling the lower self, or nafs, as it's known in Sufism.
Yes.
And this is that aspect of us that's driven by ego.
Yes.
Like base desires and impulses that pull us away from our true nature.
That's a great way to put it.
It's like our inner saboteur constantly trying to derail us from our spiritual path.
Exactly. It's that voice whispering doubts.
Right.
Tempting us with instant gratification.
Yeah.
And fueling our ego's insatiable hunger for more.
Oh, I know that voice. We all do, and Gilani uses this metaphor of washing clothes to illustrate this internal struggle. So cleaning the garment represents outer purification. While washing the heart represents the essential inner purification.
I love that analogy.
Yeah.
It's so simple but profound.
It is.
It reminds me of a quote by the Prophet Muhammad.
Okay.
He said, "Verily, in the body, there is a piece of flesh, which if sound, all the body is sound.
Right.
And which if corrupt, all the body is corrupt.
Yeah.
Truly it is the heart."
That's a perfect connection.
Yeah.
The heart or qalb is seen as the seat of spiritual awareness in Sufism.
Okay.
The locus of our connection to the divine.
I like that. And this brings us to another powerful teaching from Gilani.
Okay.
He shares a hadith, a saying of the Prophet Muhammad, about people who, based on their outward actions, appear destined for paradise or for hell. Yet on the day of judgment, their fates are reversed due to their inner states.
That's a stark reminder that appearances can be deceiving.
Absolutely.
And that ultimately it's the state of our hearts that matters most to Allah.
So we can't just coast on outward piety.
Right.
We have to constantly cultivate that inner purity and scrutinize our intentions.
It's so easy to get caught up in seeking outward validation or performing religious acts out of habit or even social pressure.
Yeah.
But Gilani is urging us to go deeper, to make sure our outward actions are a genuine reflection of our inner state.
I think that's so important.
Yeah.
And he says that this constant vigilance,
Yes.
this inner struggle against the lower self,
Yes.
is essential for true spiritual progress.
It's not about achieving some static state of perfection.
Right.
It's a continuous process of refinement. He even says, if you do not struggle against your lower self, you will be veiled from Allah.
Wow. So how do we practically engage in this battle against our lower selves?
Right. Well, he offers some very practical advice, suggesting we incorporate practices like fasting and mindful eating into our lives.
Okay, so these practices aren't just about outward rituals or deprivation.
No, they're not.
They're about strengthening our willpower.
Yes.
Cultivating self-control.
Right.
And becoming more aware of our desires and impulses.
It's about retraining ourselves to respond rather than react to those base urges.
I like that. It's like we're training our inner muscles.
Yeah.
Building up the strength to resist those impulsive pulls that lead us astray.
He even tells a story about Sufyan Athari, a renowned Sufi master who was known for both his abundant eating and his even more abundant worship.
Wow, so he's not condoning overindulgence here.
No, not at all.
He's using this example to illustrate that disciplining the lower self can actually amplify our capacity for spiritual practice. So it's about finding that delicate balance, right? Yeah. Not suppressing our desires entirely, but refining our relationship with them so that they don't control us.
Exactly. It's about cultivating mindful awareness, recognizing when our desires are pulling us off course, and gently guiding ourselves back to alignment with our spiritual goals.
It's a continuous process of self-regulation and refinement.
It is.
And this brings us to another crucial theme that's woven throughout purification of the mind.
Yeah.
Sincerity, or ikhlas in Arabic.
Absolutely.
And it seems to be the golden thread that ties all of Gilani's teachings together.
You're absolutely right. Gilani is unwavering in his assertion that sincerity is the very foundation of any genuine spiritual endeavor.
So it's not just about doing the right things, but about doing them with the right heart.
Exactly.
Pure intention.
Precisely. Yeah. It's about aligning our inner compass with the divine will.
And he tells this powerful parable about people who, on the day of judgment, boastfully offer their wealth and even their children to Allah, but only if He desires it.
Wow. But they are reminded that true nearness to Allah comes from the sincere belief and righteous deeds performed during this life, not from conditional offerings or acts of arrogance.
That's a powerful story because it highlights the difference between performing actions for show or for reward. And acting out of a genuine desire to please Allah.
Exactly. And Gilani emphasizes that this sincere striving, this purification of intention, can lead to incredible blessings. He points to the story of Prophet Joseph, who endured immense trials and tribulations, but remained steadfast in his faith and sincerity. And because of this, Allah protected him and ultimately elevated him to a position of power.
So Gilani is suggesting that sincerity acts almost like a magnet for divine guidance and support.
He's saying that when our intentions are pure, we attract divine grace into our lives.
I like that.
But he also warns against equating worldly success with spiritual favor. Just because someone is wealthy or influential doesn't automatically mean they are guided by Allah. It's a cautionary reminder to focus on purifying our hearts rather than chasing external validation.
That's such an important point in today's world.
It is.
Where it's so easy to get caught up in those external markers of success.
Absolutely. It's a call to go deeper. To look beyond the superficial. And focus on cultivating that inner purity of intention, which is the true foundation of spiritual growth.
So how do we practically make sure our religious practices are rooted in this genuine sincerity, this ikhlas?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
It is.
And it's something that Gilani wants us to continuously grapple with. He encourages us to constantly examine our motivations, to ask ourselves, why am I doing this? Is it to please Allah or to impress others? Am I seeking worldly gain or genuine spiritual connection?
That's powerful. It's an ongoing process of self-reflection.
It is.
And inner purification.
It's about cultivating that internal honesty and stripping away any layers of pretense or ego that might be obscuring our true intentions.
It's about becoming transparent to ourselves.
Yes.
About peeling back the layers of our motivations.
Exactly.
To uncover that pure yearning for Allah.
Yes.
That lies at the core of our being.
Beautifully put.
And this leads us to another central theme in purification of the mind.
Okay.
One that's really at the heart of Sufism.
Yeah.
Love, or ishq.
Absolutely.
And it's this concept that seems to capture the essence of what it means to be on a spiritual path.
In Sufism, love for Allah is seen as the pinnacle of spiritual attainment, the ultimate goal of all spiritual striving.
So it's not just about loving the idea of Allah or the blessings he bestows,
Right.
but about a profound, all-consuming love for his essence.
Yes. It's a love that permeates every aspect of your being.
Wow.
Transforming your thoughts, your actions, and even your perception of the world.
That's amazing. Yeah. And Gilani explains that this love doesn't arise spontaneously.
It doesn't?
It follows a particular progression.
Right.
It begins with striving to obey Allah's commands.
Okay.
And finding contentment in his decree. Accepting whatever life brings with gratitude and surrender.
So the first stage is about aligning our will with the divine will.
Yeah.
Surrendering to the wisdom of a plan.
Right.
We may not fully understand.
From there, we begin to appreciate Allah's favors and blessings.
Yes.
Recognizing his presence and generosity in every aspect of our lives.
This appreciation deepens into gratitude. And gratitude paves the way for love.
So it's a gradual unfolding.
It is
a blossoming of love that arises from this foundation of obedience, contentment, and gratitude.
Exactly. And then it evolves into something even deeper.
Okay, what's that?
A selfless love for Allah alone. Independent of any personal gain or reward.
Wow, that sounds like a truly transcendent experience.
It is, and to illustrate this transformative power of love, Gilani uses a powerful metaphor.
Okay, what is it?
He describes a fire that ignites within a house, initially hidden from view, but as the flames intensify, they burst through the roof.
Wow.
Becoming visible to everyone.
So it becomes impossible to contain or conceal.
Exactly. The lover becomes this radiant beacon of that love, illuminating the world around them.
That's powerful. And there's this fascinating contrast between the lover and the beloved that Gilani explores.
He explains that the lover exists in a state of longing, this constant yearning for union with the beloved, but the beloved Allah rests in perfect tranquility, already encompassing all things.
So it's like we're striving to attain a state that Allah already embodies fully.
Precisely. It's a journey of the heart towards the source of love.
Wow.
A continuous process of purification and surrender.
And it reminds me of the classic Sufi love story of Majnun and Layla.
Oh yes, the tale of the love-struck poet.
Right.
Who wandered the desert in madness, consumed by his love for Layla.
It's a powerful allegory for divine love.
It is. Majnun was so utterly absorbed in his love for Layla that he was deemed insane by society.
Wow.
But when his love became completely pure and selfless, devoid of any egotistical desires, Layla herself was consumed by love for him.
It's as if their roles reversed. And they experience this merging of lover and beloved.
That's the ultimate aim of divine love. To reach a point where you're so fully immersed in the love of Allah that your individual self dissolves into his vastness.
Wow.
You become a vessel for his love, a conduit for his grace.
And it makes Gilani's challenge to us all the more pregnant.
Right.
He calls on us to honestly assess our own claims of loving Allah.
Yes, are actions and attitudes truly reflective of the selfless devotion and yearning that characterize genuine divine love?
It's a profound question, and I think it's one that we should all be asking ourselves regularly. Yeah, and that brings us to the concept of knowledge, or ilm, which plays a central role in Gilani's teachings.
Yes, knowledge is a crucial aspect of the path. But in Sufism, ilm isn't limited to just the intellectual accumulation of information.
Right, so it's not just about reading books and memorizing facts.
No, it encompasses both the outward understanding of Islamic teachings and the inner experiential knowledge of the divine.
So it's not enough to just have head knowledge.
Right.
We have to embody that knowledge. We have to integrate it into our lives.
Exactly. Gilani is highly critical of those who preach without practicing. Those who adorn themselves with the blackness of ink, as he puts it, without experiencing the transformative power of inner purification.
So he sees this as a form of hypocrisy.
He does.
It's this disconnect between words and actions.
Yeah, he wants us to prioritize the integration of spiritual teachings into our daily lives through sincere practice.
It's about applying what we learn, not just accumulating knowledge, for the sake of ego gratification or intellectual pride.
Exactly, but with so much information available.
Right.
How do we ensure we are seeking knowledge from authentic sources?
That's a great question.
There are so many different interpretations and teachings out there.
Yeah.
It can be overwhelming to know who to trust.
It really can. And Gilani emphasizes the importance of relying on trustworthy sources of knowledge.
He does, like the Quran, the Sunnah,
Okay.
the teachings and practices of Prophet Muhammad, and reputable spiritual teachers who embodied the principles they teach.
So it's about discerning the quality of the source.
It is.
Making sure the teachers are walking the walk, not just talking the talk.
And he also stresses the importance of consulting our own hearts.
Okay.
He uses this beautiful analogy of seeking guidance from advisors and ministers, but ultimately going to the king for the final decision.
I get that.
And in this analogy, the king represents our heart.
Okay.
That inner compass that can guide us toward truth.
So it's about cultivating that inner intuition.
It is.
That connection with our own hearts.
Yes.
Alongside seeking that external guidance.
He's suggesting that we have a built-in guidance system within us.
Yeah.
This deep well of wisdom that we can access.
Okay.
Through sincere introspection and contemplation.
And through consistent, sincere practice.
Right.
We can begin to unlock profound inner experiences.
Yes, those moments of clarity and insight that reveal the deeper realities of existence.
He uses such vivid imagery to describe these experiences?
He does. He talks about the heart becoming this flourishing orchard filled with fragrant blossoms and delicious fruits.
Wow.
A gathering place for angels and spirits.
That's such a beautiful image.
It is. But he makes it clear that these experiences are not the end goal.
Right.
They're simply fruits of sincere devotion.
Okay.
Signposts along the path. Indicators of our spiritual progress.
The true goal is the purification of the heart.
It is.
And the deepening of our connection with Allah.
Exactly. So it's not about chasing spiritual highs or seeking mystical experiences for their own sake.
It's about that steady, consistent work.
Yes.
Of purifying the heart.
Right.
Refining our character.
Yeah.
And aligning our will with the divine.
And this brings us to another key theme.
Okay.
The works of the heart, or qalb as it's called in Arabic.
The heart in Sufism is seen as the very seat of spiritual awareness.
It is.
The locus of our connection with the divine.
It's the space where we encounter Allah, where we receive His guidance and experience His love.
And Gilani is saying that a purified heart is capable of incredible things.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
He teaches that when the heart is cleansed of the impurities of ego, negativity, and worldly attachments, it becomes attuned to the divine frequency.
Wow.
It becomes like a finely tuned instrument, receptive to the subtlest whispers of divine guidance.
It's almost like our entire perspective on life and death shifts.
It does.
When the heart is purified.
Our priorities are reordered.
Okay.
Nearness to Allah becomes the ultimate source of life. And death is no longer seen as an ending,
right,
but as a separation from the beloved.
Okay.
A transition to a higher state of consciousness.
That's a profound shift in awareness.
It is.
A reorientation of our entire being.
And this journey towards Allah is understood as a journey of the heart, not just the physical body.
Right.
It's not about traveling to some specific location, but about an inner pilgrimage, a movement of the soul towards its source.
So it's about the transformation of our inner landscape, the purification of our hearts,
right,
and the deepening of our connection with the divine.
Exactly. It's an inner journey that unfolds in the depths of our being.
And this journey requires a conscious, consistent effort.
It does.
It's about cultivating those qualities that foster spiritual growth.
Yes, like patience, gratitude, humility, generosity.
It's about purifying our intentions.
Right.
And aligning our will with the divine.
It's a beautiful and challenging path.
It is, and I feel like we've just scratched the surface.
I think so too.
There's so much more to explore in purification of the mind.
And this idea of purifying the heart leads us to another fascinating concept. The light, or nur, in Sufism.
Okay.
Which is often associated with a purified heart.
I'm curious about this concept of nur.
Yeah.
What does this light actually symbolize in the context of our spiritual journey?
It's a beautiful metaphor, really.
Okay.
Think of it as a kind of spiritual illumination. an inner radiance that emerges when the heart is cleansed of impurities.
So it's not a physical light,
Yeah.
but a kind of spiritual seeing.
Exactly. It's an awakening of the heart's perception. A deepening of our awareness that allows us to see beyond the surface level of things.
And there's this interesting hadith.
Yeah.
Where the Prophet Muhammad actually cautions people.
Really?
To be aware of the insight of a believer.
Okay.
Because they see by the light of Allah.
Wow, that's quite a statement.
It is. What do you think the Prophet was getting at with that?
He was highlighting the transformative power of faith and spiritual practice. Okay. He was suggesting that sincere engagement on the path cultivates a heightened perception, a kind of spiritual insight that allows believers to see the world through a different lens.
So it's like developing a sixth sense.
Yeah.
A spiritual intuition that unveils deeper truths and realities.
That's a great way to put it. It's about moving beyond the limitations of our ordinary senses.
Right.
And tapping into a deeper level of knowing.
So what kinds of things are believers able to see with this light of Allah?
Well, Gilani describes those who are drawn near to Allah as being able to perceive their own proximity to the divine. They experience a heightened awareness of his presence, his love, his guidance. They also become attuned to the unseen realms, witnessing the spiritual realities of angels, prophets, and other righteous beings.
It sounds almost like they're entering a different dimension.
Right.
A world beyond the reach of our ordinary perception.
It's a shift in consciousness, an opening to a realm of reality that is usually veiled from our sight.
That's really interesting. And what's fascinating is that this light, this nur, isn't just about personal illumination.
It's not.
It can actually benefit others as well.
It can. How so?
How is that?
Well, there's a hadith that depicts the fire of hell. Actually urging believers to pass through it quickly because their light has extinguished its flames.
Wow.
It's a powerful image that suggests the believer's light, their spiritual radiance, has the power to lessen the suffering of others.
It sounds like their inner transformation has a ripple effect.
It does.
Extending outward to impact the world around them.
Exactly. It's a reminder that our spiritual practice isn't just about personal salvation.
Right.
It's about contributing to the collective good, about bringing light and healing to the world.
It's inspiring to think that by cultivating our own inner light, we can become beacons of hope and healing for others.
It's a beautiful reminder of the interconnectedness of all things.
It is.
And this concept of interconnectedness is also reflected in Gilani's emphasis on generosity and compassion, particularly towards the poor and those in need.
Right. Generosity is a cornerstone of Islam.
It is.
And purification of the mind is filled with teachings on the importance of charity.
It goes beyond simply encouraging charity, though. He exhorts us to prioritize the needs of the poor, even when we might be struggling ourselves.
Right.
Even when our own faith feels shaky.
So it's not about giving out of a sense of obligation.
No.
Or because it's expected of us.
Exactly. He wants us to cultivate a sincere desire to help others, to recognize their humanity and inherent worth. And when our faith is strong, when our hearts are filled with gratitude, this giving should be accompanied by genuine joy and kindness.
It's almost like generosity becomes an expression of our love for Allah. A way of channeling that love outward to serve His creation.
That's a beautiful way to see it. And he shares this powerful hadith where the Prophet Muhammad describes a beggar at the door as a gift from Allah.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
What do you think he meant by that?
It suggests that encountering someone in need is actually an opportunity, a chance for us to grow spiritually, to cultivate compassion, to loan to Allah, as he says, by extending a helping hand.
It's a reminder to approach these situations not with a sense of burden or resentment, but with a heart filled with gratitude for the opportunity to serve.
Exactly. And Gilani wants us to understand that this compassion, this generosity, is a pathway to drawing closer to Allah, to refining our hearts and aligning ourselves with His attributes of mercy and grace.
And speaking of drawing closer to Allah, the book also explores the spiritual significance of Ramadan.
It does.
A month that holds a special place in the hearts of Muslims worldwide.
Yes, Ramadan is a time of intense spiritual focus.
Right.
A month dedicated to fasting, prayer, and reflection.
Yeah, but Gilani emphasizes that its benefits extend far beyond the physical act of abstaining from food and drink.
Absolutely. So it's not just about a physical detoxification, but a spiritual purification as well. He goes deep into the spiritual dimensions of Ramadan, breaking down the very word itself.
Okay, I love this kind of linguistic analysis.
Yeah.
It's like unlocking hidden layers of meaning.
He explains that each letter in the Arabic script for Ramadan points to a specific spiritual quality that we can cultivate during this month.
Okay, what are some of those qualities?
So the first letter, Ra, is connected to Rama, meaning mercy.
Okay.
And Rafa, meaning graciousness. Ramadan is an opportunity to cultivate these qualities within ourselves and extend them outward to others.
Okay.
It's about softening our hearts, becoming more compassionate and forgiving.
It sounds like a call to embody those divine attributes of mercy and grace that are so central to Islam.
And the meme is associated with mujazat, meaning recompense,
Okay.
mahaba, meaning love, and minna, meaning favor. It's a time to experience Allah's abundant blessings and draw closer to Him through love and devotion.
It's beautiful how even the name of the month hints at this incredible spiritual potential that Ramadan holds.
Right. And then we have the Had, which is connected to Daman lil Thawab, meaning the assurance of reward. This highlights the fact that our actions during Ramadan carry extra weight, so to speak. Our good deeds are multiplied in reward. And our efforts to purify our hearts are met with divine favor.
It's like a time of accelerated spiritual growth.
It is.
Where the veils between us and Allah are thinned and our prayers and supplications are more readily accepted.
Absolutely. And then there's the Alif, which represents ulfa, meaning affinity, and qurb, meaning nearness. Ramadan is a time when we can truly experience that sense of closeness and intimacy with Allah.
Right, so it's a month for prioritizing our relationship with Allah.
It is.
For creating space in our lives, for deep connection and communion with the divine.
Exactly. And lastly, we have the noon, which is linked to Nur, that light we were discussing earlier, and also to Nawal, meaning the earning of grace. Ramadan is a time ripe with opportunities for spiritual illumination, for experiencing those breakthroughs in awareness and understanding that can transform our lives.
It's like the entire month is designed to facilitate our spiritual growth.
Yes, it is.
And bring us closer to Allah.
It's a powerful time. But Gilani reminds us that it's not just about going through the motions of fasting. True fasting, he emphasizes, involves a conscious effort to purify our hearts, to refine our character, and to align our will with the divine.
So it's about a holistic transformation. And inner alchemy that involves both the physical and spiritual dimensions of our being.
He cautions against insincere fasting, where people abstain from food and drink, but continue to engage in negative behaviors, harmful speech, and toxic thoughts.
It's like they're missing the whole point.
They're focused on the outward form without attending to the inner essence.
True fasting, he says, involves restraining the tongue from harmful speech, guarding the heart from negative thoughts and emotions, and engaging in acts of worship with sincerity and presence.
It's about becoming conscious of our inner state and cultivating a state of purity and peace.
So it's about using the practice of fasting as a tool to refine our character.
It is.
To chip away at those negative habits and patterns that prevent us from experiencing true spiritual freedom.
Precisely. It's about aligning our inner world with the outward practice, creating a synergy between our intentions and our actions.
And this focus on inner purification is a recurring theme in purification of the mind.
It is.
It seems to underpin all of Gilani's teachings.
You're absolutely right. He constantly reminds us that the real battleground is within, that true transformation happens at the level of the heart. And he's very direct in his advice. He doesn't sugarcoat things or shy away from calling out the ego's tricks and deceptions.
Yeah, I noticed that his language can be quite strong at times.
It can.
He uses phrases like, "Oh, young man," or "woe to you."
It's a stylistic choice that reflects the urgency of his message. He's trying to shake us out of our complacency to awaken us to the gravity of the spiritual journey.
It's like he's speaking across the centuries. Directly into our hearts. urging us to take this path seriously,
Right.
to not waste this precious opportunity we have to purify our souls and draw closer to Allah.
He's passionate about guiding people toward the truth,
Yeah.
even if it means challenging their assumptions and pushing them beyond their comfort zones.
And that's what makes his teaching so impactful, I think.
I think so too.
They're not just theoretical concepts. They're meant to be embodied, to be lived out in the messy, complex reality of our lives.
And he offers so many practical examples and anecdotes to illustrate his points. He draws from the Quran, the Hadith, the lives of the prophets and saints, and even stories of ordinary people, making these teachings accessible and relatable.
It's like he's saying, look, these principles aren't just for mystics and scholars.
Right.
They're relevant to everyone, no matter where they are on their spiritual journey.
And that's the beauty of purification of the mind.
It is.
It offers something for everyone, whether you're just beginning your exploration of spirituality or you've been walking the path for years.
One of the teachings that really resonated with me is his emphasis on striving against the lower self. That constant battle between our higher aspirations and those base desires that seem to lurk within us all.
It's a universal struggle, isn't it?
It is, this inner tug of war between what we know is right and those impulses that tempt us to take the easier, less virtuous path.
And Gilani makes it clear that we can't afford to be passive in this battle. We have to actively resist those lower impulses.
Okay.
To cultivate those qualities that strengthen our resolve and align us with our true nature.
He's adamant that we should never underestimate the cunning of the ego.
Right.
The nafs.
It's a master of disguise, constantly finding new ways to rationalize its desires and keep us trapped in its limiting patterns.
But it can be so exhausting, right?
It can.
This constant vigilance, this inner struggle to choose the higher path again and again.
He acknowledges that it's not easy. It's a lifelong process, a continuous refinement. But he also emphasizes the incredible rewards that come from this struggle.
What are they?
When we overcome those lower desires, we experience a profound sense of freedom and liberation.
It's like breaking free from those chains that bind us to our ego's whims and fancies.
Exactly. And as those chains loosen, we open ourselves up to experiencing those higher spiritual states, those glimpses of divine truth and beauty.
That are otherwise obscured by our ego's cloud of desires and attachments.
And this brings us back to the importance of sincerity. Ikhlas as the foundation for all spiritual progress.
Yes.
It's so easy for our actions, even our religious practices, to become tainted by ulterior motives. We might be seeking approval recognition, or even just a sense of self-righteousness.
He's very clear that actions performed for any purpose other than seeking Allah's pleasure are ultimately meaningless. It's like building a house on sand. It might look impressive from the outside, but it lacks that solid foundation needed to withstand the storms of life.
He's calling us to purify our intentions. To strip away those layers of ego and self-interest that can so easily cloud our hearts.
Exactly. It's about acting from a place of pure love and devotion. Recognizing that Allah sees the secrets of our hearts. Not just the outward appearance of our deeds. But how do we know if our actions are truly sincere? It's so hard to discern sometimes.
It is.
To differentiate between those subtle motivations that drive our behavior.
It requires a level of self-awareness, a willingness to look honestly at ourselves and our intentions. He encourages us to constantly question our motives, to ask ourselves, why am I doing this? Is it to please Allah or to impress others? Am I seeking worldly gain or genuine spiritual growth?
So it's an ongoing process of self-reflection.
It is.
A kind of inner audit.
Yeah.
Where we check in with our hearts and make sure our actions are aligned with our deepest aspirations.
And he stresses that true sincerity, this ikhlas, is a magnet for divine support. When our intentions are pure, we open ourselves to receiving Allah's guidance, His blessings, and His protection.
It's like we're aligning ourselves with the divine flow. Creating a space for grace to enter our lives.
And then, of course, there's love. That ishki that's at the very core of Sufism.
It's this profound longing for union with Allah. A love that consumes your entire being. Transforming you from the inside out.
It's a beautiful concept, but it can feel overwhelming at times.
It can.
This idea of being completely consumed by love for Allah.
Right. It's hard to even grasp what that would feel like.
He explains that this love is a journey.
Okay.
A gradual unfolding that begins with a commitment to following Allah's commands and finding contentment in His decree.
Okay.
It's about accepting whatever life brings with an open heart, trusting in His wisdom and mercy.
So the first step is surrender.
It is.
Letting go of our need to control everything and trusting in the perfection of His plan.
From that place of surrender, we begin to appreciate His blessings.
Okay.
Recognizing His presence and generosity in every aspect of our life, this appreciation deepens into gratitude.
Okay.
And gratitude opens the doorway to love.
It's a beautiful progression, isn't it?
It is. And then it blossoms into a selfless love for Allah alone, independent of any personal gain or reward.
Okay.
It's a love that seeks nothing in return. A pure outpouring of the heart that recognizes the beauty and perfection of the beloved.
And this love is transformative, isn't it?
It is.
It changes how we see ourselves, the world, and our place in it.
He describes it as a fire that ignites within a house.
Okay.
Initially hidden from view, but as the flames intensify, they burst through the roof.
Wow.
Becoming visible to all.
Okay.
It's like that with divine love. It begins as this inner yearning.
Right.
A secret fire that burns in the heart.
Okay.
But as it grows, it overflows into your actions, your speech, your very presence.
It becomes impossible to contain, to hide from the world.
It does. And Gilani challenges us to look honestly at our own hearts, to assess our claims of loving Allah.
Okay.
He asks, do our actions truly reflect that selfless devotion, that all-consuming yearning that characterize genuine divine love?
It's a powerful question, and one that we should be asking ourselves regularly.
We should.
It's so easy to get caught up in the routines of religious practice. To lose sight of that essential heart connection that animates true spirituality.
He's calling us to go deeper, to rekindle that fire of love within our hearts and make sure it's the driving force behind all that we do.
And this emphasis on the heart, on cultivating inner purity and aligning our will with the divine is really the thread that runs through all of Gilani's teachings, isn't it?
Absolutely. Purification of the mind offers us a roadmap for this inner journey, a guide to cultivating the qualities and practices that lead to spiritual awakening and union with the beloved.
It's about purifying our hearts, refining our character, and deepening our connection with Allah.
Yes.
It's about remembering that the real journey is an inward one, a pilgrimage of the soul toward its source. It feels like purification of the mind is offering like this blueprint for crafting a life of meaning and purpose, a life that's really rooted in the awareness of our connection to something greater than ourselves.
That's a beautiful way to put it. It's not just about performing rituals or adhering to a set of rules. It's about cultivating those qualities within ourselves that reflect the divine attributes.
Like those we were talking about earlier.
Right.
Patience, gratitude, humility, generosity.
It's about embodying these virtues in our daily interactions, our thoughts, and even our responses to challenging situations.
Exactly. And Gilani emphasizes that these qualities are the true markers of spiritual growth. They're not just lofty ideals. They have this real tangible impact on our lives and the world around us.
It's like we're becoming better human beings, not just better Muslims.
Precisely.
It's about weaving those values into the very fabric of our being, allowing them to guide our choices, our relationships, and how we navigate the world.
And this transformation, this process of embodying these virtues is an ongoing journey, right?
It is. There's no finish line. No point where we can say, okay, I'm done, I've arrived.
It's a continuous process of refinement.
It is.
A lifelong adventure of the heart.
And that's what makes it so exciting.
Yeah.
There's always room for growth.
Right.
For deepening our understanding, for polishing the mirror of our hearts so that it reflects the divine light more clearly.
One of the things I appreciate about Gilani's approach is that he acknowledges the diversity of spiritual paths. He emphasizes that there are many ways to connect with Allah. Each unique and valid.
Yes, he's very clear that there isn't this one-size-fits-all approach to spirituality. He recognizes that people come from different backgrounds, have different temperaments, and are at different stages in their spiritual development.
What matters is the sincerity of our hearts. Our willingness to strive, and our commitment to purifying our intentions.
He's not interested in dogma or rigid adherence to a specific set of rules. He's offering a framework, a set of principles that can be adapted to individual needs and circumstances.
And he's always pointing us back to the essence of Islam.
Right.
The core principles that underpin the entire faith. Belief in the oneness of God and surrender to his will.
It's about cultivating this deep, intimate connection with the divine.
Right.
The love that permeates every fiber of our being.
And that love, he says, is transformative.
It is.
It has the power to change the way we see the world.
Yeah.
The way we interact with others. The way we experience life itself.
It's a journey worth embarking on. A journey that leads us back to our true home.
Yeah.
And that state of union with the beloved. That is the ultimate goal of all spiritual striving.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into the wisdom of purification of the mind,
yeah,
what's one key takeaway you would want our listener to ponder? Something that might inspire them to continue exploring these teachings.
Gilani says, the people of Allah have inherited the spiritual states of the prophets. They have inherited the qualities and virtues that they had.
Okay.
I would encourage our listener to reflect on this. What qualities of the prophets, those exemplars of virtue and righteousness, resonate most strongly with you? And how can you cultivate those qualities in your own life, bringing them to life in your unique way?
That's a beautiful invitation to contemplate the best of humanity.
Yeah.
To draw inspiration from those who embody the divine attributes so fully.
It's a reminder that we all have the potential for greatness within us, the capacity to become beacons of light and compassion in the world.
It's a call to step into our own prophetic inheritance.
Right.
To embrace the qualities that resonate with our souls.
Yeah.
And bring them to life in our own unique and beautiful ways.
Purification of the Mind offers us this treasure map for this journey of self-discovery and spiritual refinement. It's a timeless guide filled with wisdom insights and practical advice that can benefit seekers of all levels.
It's a book that deserves to be revisited again and again.
It does.
Allowing its teachings to seep into our hearts, to nourish our souls, and to inspire us to live lives of greater meaning, purpose, and connection with the divine.
Absolutely.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the heart of purification of the mind.
You're welcome.
We hope you found it enriching and inspiring.
Me too.
Until next time, may your journey be filled with peace, love, and the radiant light of Nurse.